Hello, this is Angela Bennett from Advice Resolutions. We're here today filming outside of the Jedburgh Sheriff Court in the Scottish Borders because once again we're filming here outside the Jedburgh Sheriff Court in the Scottish Borders because we have an important feature to discuss with you. So today we're here to emphasise the importance and the significance and the relevance of talking about the issue of the legal aid bill. Now, the legal aid, of course, is a situation which is very close to some people's hearts. It's important to discuss it because sometimes legal aid clearly isn't enough and it doesn't cover your rights to access justice, and it clearly is an issue for people who don't have access to justice where they are involved in criminal cases. Now, criminal cases bill for legal aid has been seriously reduced over a very long period of time. And this has gone on for many years since a lot of legal aid has now gone out of scope. And the reason why they have this is because they don't want a lot of people to rely on the legal aid, because they want you to just plead guilty very quickly, very simply, very easily, and it's been done with. But is that the right way to approach a person having access to justice and having their case heard before a competent tribunal? Well, no, it's not. Because if you haven't committed a crime and the system clearly wants you to admit to doing something you haven't done, where is the justice in all of that? So as the criminal justice system is now slowly eradicating, and the chances of getting your case heard swiftly, quickly, before a competent tribunal is clearly not likely within a reasonable time, you're then waiting, and you're waiting like a sitting duck, hoping that your case will be heard and you can get an opportunity to say, well, I'm not guilty. That may take some time because, of course, legal aid lawyers, they are not receiving the right funding. The funding they're receiving is clearly abysmal. It's just so small. And earning £20 an hour, or which it seems to be nowadays, is clearly not sufficient for these criminal legal defence lawyers to survive. So what's the answer? The answer isn't clearly giving the Procurator Fiscal in Scotland money to survive and leaving the person at the will of the criminal justice system with less money. Because remember, there are more people in the criminal justice system who are accused of crimes than there are Procurator Fiscals. The Procurator Fiscal seems to be getting millions just to bolster their existence, whereas the person who's on the receiving end of the criminal justice system, who it is accused of committing a crime, clearly is receiving less money. Now, you'd think that common sense prevails and you should be able to have a level playing field, but unfortunately the level playing field isn't as we'd like it to be. Maybe the system doesn't see it that way. Maybe the system is saying, well, you shouldn't go around committing crimes, but do people actually go around committing crimes deliberately, or do they just get caught in a net widening system where it is said that more crimes are committed because the criminal justice system permits this to happen? Well, it's not impossible for more laws to be created like there were under the Labour government, which we understand were 3,000 pieces of new legislation. And so if there are more legislation created, then of course, that's to protect the public. But there's also the other side of it. To protecting the public is also making a mint for the criminal justice system to survive. And it permeates potentially more injustices. So is there injustice if you don't get legal aid? Well, of course there is injustice, because if you can't access the services of a qualified lawyer, and there isn't a level playing field, and you're up against the third party in all of this, which is the Procurator Fiscal in Scotland, you don't have a chance of having a case heard by a competent tribunal who is able to treat you with fairness and justice. It becomes an injustice, which is all the time. So we're told in Scotland that there were 13,000 lawyers, and then only 1,000 of these lawyers are doing legal aid. Well, as you can see, it's divisive. It actually means that if you don't have an amount of people to practice law and be receiving the right amount of money to ensure the security of people's rights, then clearly a lot of people are going to go without the rightful access to the criminal justice system or even the civil justice system. But the answer is to ensure that we have a fair legal justice system that's available and it's fair and it's accessible to all. Because if it's not accessible to all, then clearly we're going to find some people treated more equal than others. And we don't want that, do we? Because we want a level playing field and we want access to justice. And I know I keep repeating myself, but it really is all about that. Because if you believe in the equalities and you believe in the European Convention on Human Rights, you'd understand there's an Article 6. Article 6 says that you have a right to a fair hearing and you should be able to understand the charges against you. And can you really understand the charges against you if you are within the criminal justice system, if it be that, and you don't have the wisdom and the legal understanding and the professionalism and skill of a qualified lawyer? Well, I would argue that you wouldn't have access to all of these things if you are just defending yourself in such a serious case in which your liberty is seriously affected. So when we say that we want access to justice, it's natural justice, it's a norm, we'd expect it all the time and it should be available. And I would argue that the legal system needs to be revamped, it needs to be reordered, it needs to be rehashed, and there needs to be a revolutionary process undertaken to make sure that the criminal justice system is free for people that need it in circumstances where we need it. And we need to revisit how we actually fund the criminal justice system, because clearly there is an imbalance and people are beginning to feel the stresses of it because they're not accessing justice in a short period of time. And the Procurator Fiscal, particularly in the Scottish jurisdiction, appears to have the upper hand. And is that clear justice? Is it fairly dispersed? Well, no, it's not. So let's just wait and see how long they allow the criminal justice system to be left in a total mess, because it is a mess and it's not going to be resolved very quickly. And let's just keep our eye on the issue and watch very closely to see whether or not there's going to be any improvement anytime soon. But anyway, take care and thank you for listening, and have a rest of good time and look after yourself. Goodbye.